All right, so you got create the process, document the process, name the process.
Yeah, and then if you want to take it to another level, trademark the process, because that takes it to another level. Because in your market, if you want a USP, you want something that nobody else has, the seller says like...
Unique selling proposition.
Yeah. If you want something that nobody else has in your market, you have to do what nobody else does in your market. Nobody else in your market goes and gets their shit trademarked. Welcome to the Whissel Way Podcast. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with eXp Realty in San Diego.
And I'm Bryan, Koci, Media Marketing Director with the Whissel Realty Group here in San Diego.
The goal of our show is to give you the tools, the techniques, the tactics that you need to go out there and crush it in your business, whether that be real estate, mortgage, or really just any business out there. The way that we like to do it is just to answer the questions that you have for us. We don't like to guess at what you want to hear about. We just listen to what you want to hear about. And the way that we do that is via our website, thewhisselway.com. You can go on there, ask questions directly on the website. You can also join our Facebook group where you can engage with us. There's tons of questions that have been answered in there in the past. And just, there's referral opportunities. There's new technology and tools and all kinds of stuff that we're working on. You can also subscribe to the podcast, our YouTube channel, our referral network, and find out about upcoming events that we have going on, like our Media Mayor Mastermind event, which is a event where Bryan and I take everything we've learned over the last 5.5 years, combine it to 16 hours of content. We do some Q&A on top of that. We're doing virtual events and we're doing in-person events. So if you want to find out about the upcoming ones we've got going on, go to thewhisselway.com. Bryan, what's your question today?
So this question is kind of it's built off of something that most of us already do, but it's taking it one step further. We get asked all the time about, hey, what's your process to help buyers? And we go, oh, our VIP buyer program. What's your lead follow-up plan? Oh, our buy or die plan. And we kind of, it's this. But we realize not everyone does it. And so this is really, I want you to kind of go more in depth about the power of names and, more importantly, naming your processes so that way it's very understandable. Also, it's great when you name them with numbers involved. But basically, so it's something really easy to remember. Why do you need to do that, and where does that come from?
Yeah, so what I've learned over time is that we all have routines that we follow. We all have processes that are in place. We all have just a general way that we do things. But what a lot of us don't have is we don't document what that process is first and foremost. Is even though every time a lead comes in, I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and I do this, we've never actually documented what we do. It's not written out anywhere. Like, we know it, but if we hired somebody, is there like a written SOP, right? A standard operating procedure, or is there just a written documentation or checklist or anything that they could follow to do what you do? If not, that's where we got to start, right? Let's start with that. Let's take what do we do when a lead comes in? Okay, now maybe you have a list for buyer, a list for seller. And then what about when you go on the appointment? Do you have a list that you follow? What about when somebody signs a listing agreement with you? Do you have a list of that you follow? Like, just everything that you do in your business, you should document everything that you're already doing on a regular basis, to the point where when you build a team, you could have this whole list of all these things that you already do. And it makes it a lot easier when you bring a team member on, so you could teach them what you do. And then they have these, documented processes that they can follow to do what you do. So it starts there, is making sure that you're documenting everything that you do. One of the things that I've become more a fan of lately is a lot of these things I'm building out into Google Docs. And the reason is they're live docs. So as we change things, we used to, put a post up and be like, here's how to do this in our workplace, which is our internal communication system. But then when we would change something, you'd have to go back and edit the post, where if you just make these Google Docs, and we'll dive into it a little bit further when we actually give these things names, but then it's easy to go in and change something in that doc. So one of our things is our 7-day listing launch. So this is the 7 days leading up to launching a property on the market. Well, what if we change something that's on day 2? Well, if it's in a post, you got to go back and edit the post, and people might not get wind of that. or they have to go find the post, which can be a pain in the ass. But if you make it very easy for them, like you have a website that was called 7-Day whatever, we're not going to give away everything right now, but if you just had a website that drove people to a Google Doc, whenever that Google Doc changed, when they go to that website, the process would be there, right? The changed process would be there. So document the processes. I like doing them in something like Google Docs is an easy way to do it. You could also use systems like Facebook Workplace is starting to build out like units, which is kind of cool. Or even if you have a Facebook group, you have units built in there. Some people like to take it to another level and get like a Kajabi or Trainual or Teachable or some of those systems, which you could do. We were using AdaptiveU.io. Like there's a million different systems. A lot of those are called LMSs or learning management systems. We're loving just utilizing Facebook Workplace and then building this stuff out within Workplace.
Well, and we are hiring a VA for our virtual assistant for our listing manager. She had an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting with the VA, and what they did is they had a Zoom call showing exactly how they do things, and then the VA is going and following through that Zoom call and building up a process. And so that could be another way of, one, if you're going to use VAs to make sure that things are in conjunction with what you're talking about. But two, I'm sure you can use a VA to literally, hey, I'm going to spend 45 minutes and show you how I build this. Now spend 3 hours and write it up for me so that way I can give it to my agents.
Yeah, there's services too that can literally listen in on every phone call you make and take notes on your calls for you just so you don't forget things. Pretty cool.
At first I thought that was creepy, and then immediately later I thought that was cool.
Yep.
All right,
yeah,
I like
so
it.
There's some cool stuff like that. So first and foremost, document your processes. Second, give them a name. So for example,
should you name them like Patrice?
Good.
Cool.
You could be like Peyton Manning, Omaha. Like, maybe that's your jam, right?
Doesn't Omaha mean everything?
No, it's a play. It's an audible that he calls it the line in football. All right. So, for example, we have our agents they have these shifts that they work, these 3 to 4 hour long shifts. We came up with something called the Perfect 10. And so these are the 10 things to do during your shift to have a perfect shift. So we call that the Perfect 10. And so now every time they can go to a shortcut URL or a subdomain, they just go, and I don't want to give these out because people are going to go download these things. But we can, it's fine. If you go to perfect10.kylewhissel.com, perfect10.kylewhissel.com, you can go there. You can see our Perfect 10 checklist. These are the 10 things that an agent should do during their shift. We also have something called the Fab 5. Every time a lead comes in, these are the 5 things you should do on every single lead that comes in to make sure you're maximizing your database. We have our VIP buyer agreement, which is just everything that we do for a buyer who buys with us. And it tells them, here's all the things that you're going to get by working with us on the buy side. We have our 7-day listing launch. Here's what happens in 7 days when we launch your property. So that's the next step of it, is take these processes that you already have that you're doing and give them a name, which does a couple things. One, it makes it easier to remember. 2, it becomes something that's marketable. Because I bet you have a 7-day process that you follow when you launch a listing. You just never gave it a name. You've never actually identified it as something. And ours is even trademarked to take it to another level. So think about, what are all these different processes that you follow in your business? Now give these things names, and now they become something. They literally are more than just a process. Like they elevate their status and what they actually are. And it's been amazing because now I can tell my agents, like, hey, did you follow what you're supposed to do on your agent on duty shift? Or I could say, hey, what'd you score on your Perfect 10 list, right? Like, it's easier that way. And they like having an actual checklist to follow. I found that people do a lot better when they know what the expectation is of them. So there's no guessing. They know, boom, all right, nailed it. I got 9 out of 10, or I got 8 out of 10. And they also, if they only get a 3 out of 10, I don't even have to tell them they didn't do their job. They know they didn't do their job if they got a 3 out of 10. So it actually takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders of having to tell them they didn't do their job.
I was going to tell Tom we need to name our processes, but we don't. Tom always gets 10 out of 10, so we're good with that.
Aw, you give them all cat names. They're like, oh, do you go Siamese on that property? Ooh,
Calico.
Yeah.
That's the only. And then the rest are called cats. So Siamese, calico, and cat.
There's tabby. It's a
Okay.
type of cat.
Short hair, domestic,
Yeah.
domestic long hair. Oh, Russian long hair. What about
This is gonna go south real quick, guys.
Right.
I got Thomas and Bryan love cats, so we get these two started talking about cats. We got a limit on this show. One of our goals with this show too, if you've never listened before, is we try to keep these short and sweet. I have insane ADHD and I can't do things for long periods of time, so our goal is to always keep the show right around 20 minutes. Because that's nice digestible content for most of us. That's basically you can listen to an entire show during the time that it takes you to drive to work. So that's what our goal is. There you go.
Persian cat.
Oh, here we go.
Bengal cat.
Brian's going through his he's going through his photo album. Oh, yep, I got one of those. Got one of those. Got one of those. Yep. Brian's got a lot of cats.
All right, so you got create the process, document the process, name the process.
Yeah, and then if you want to take it to another level, trademark the process, because that takes it to another level. Because in your market, if you want a USP, you want something that nobody else has, a seller says like
unique selling proposition.
Yeah. If you want something that nobody else has in your market, you have to do what nobody else does in your market. Nobody else in your market goes and gets their shit trademarked. And it's not that hard. Hire a trademark attorney. I wouldn't recommend doing it yourself. It's really complicated. It's not really complicated, but you're going to screw it up. And there's
It's not hard. Hire an attorney.
There's more to it than you think. So hire an attorney. Have somebody help walk you through the process, because the way that I was going to do it myself versus the way we actually did it was different, and I didn't think about that. So it was nice to have somebody help me through that process. So then take some of these processes, trademark them, and now you have something that's marketable.
Okay. So the last step, either trademark or I guess we can say share it or market it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's market it, really.
Yeah.
And then bonus points if you actually go get it trademarked.
Cool.
So that's what we got for you guys. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter show, but that's something that could really change things. And, half of this is giving you a marketable advantage, and half of this is just giving your team an advantage because they know what the expectations are of them. You have the processes, they're documented, there's a checklist in place, and there's a name for it. So it's much easier to say, hey, did you do all 5 of those things that you're supposed to do when a lead comes in? Or, hey, did you follow the Fab 5? Like, that just makes it so much easier. So that's what we got for you guys today. Hopefully that's going to help you and your team as you guys grow. One of the other things that we like to do and leave you with on the show is something that we call our Whissel Widget of the Week. This is something that we're utilizing in our business that either makes us more money, saves us time, or just helps us have more fun. Did you come up with yours, Bryan?
I did.
Okay, go for it.
It's actually something we're utilizing right now in our new seller funnel. And that's actually, it's a way to collect information in a very easy and visually appealing way, as well as collect partial information. And that's using a service called Typeform. I checked, I don't think we covered it before, but Typeform is a way to, it's basically a survey that you can embed or put a link up somewhere. And the really cool thing about this that I don't know of any other service there, I'm sure there are, but I don't.
Spilled my water. Yes, I did.
I don't know of any
Gotta
other
go
service
on YouTube if you want to see that.
that does this. So if you have 5 questions, but they only answer 3, with any other survey you have, they answer 1, they answer 2, they answer 3, and then they cancel out. They never submitted the form. They entered nothing. With Typeform, it gives you those 3 questions that they did answer, even though they didn't finish the complete survey. So that's something we're utilizing now. We're making sure we ask the things that we really want. What I asked Chris today when we were building this, I said, what can we do the most with the least amount of information? And we decided the property address would probably be the first thing we ask. So if they don't finish the rest of the form, we still have the important information.
Cool. Yeah, Typeform's really easy to use. I love it. And it's very visually appealing to people. It doesn't put the entire form on the screen at once like a Google form does. It just makes it very simple. It's not intimidating. It's very approachable. So I do love Typeform. And it integrates so you can connect with Zapier and send that information out to a ton of other systems. So cool. What I got today, this is something that I'm really big on in marketing, is just tracking and measuring results on things. And I track and measure marketing things, and I also track and measure what my team is doing with things. And a lot of times I'll have a piece of information I tell my team about, like, hey, there's this really cool website, you guys should go check this out, or there's a great article here, you should go check this out, and I'll post a link to it. But what I do first, and most of my team doesn't know this, is that I will take that link and I'll run it through a service called Bitly, Bitly. And I throw that link into Bitly. It gives me a tracking link. It also shortens the link, and that's the link I post. And so what I can do is I can see how many people on my team are actually clicking on that link. And it's pretty eye-opening sometimes. You'll drop like this amazing piece of knowledge and you'll check, and Bitly will be like, yep, you had 5 people click on that. Like, okay. That shows me like I should probably talk about this more because nobody clicked on it. So if I have 40 people on my team and 5 people click the link, that means 35 people, all they saw was the headline and nothing else. So now when I do a meeting, I'll say, hey, I understand I put this post up the other day. Some of you guys might not have had time to read it yet, but I wanted to just summarize it for you, and I'll go a little bit more in depth on it. So that helps me there, but it also helps us a ton with marketing. And we could see, if we run an ad, how many people are clicking on it and landing on the page. And then we could see how many people are converting from it. So Bitly can just be huge for tracking how many people are actually clicking links. So
and it
a
tells
lot
you
of different
sources.
ways. Yeah. And parts of the country or parts of the world in reality of where people are clicking from. So Bitly is pretty awesome. It's free.
Yeah.
So highly recommend you guys incorporate Bitly into your business.
There's a paid version, but I haven't figured out why.
Yeah. I think you can make like your own. And so instead of it being bit.ly/whatever, it could be like brianlovescats.com/whatever. So good.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's true, but I don't know if that's
Worth
what
it.
Bitly works.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys got some value out of the show today. Again, if you want to stay connected with us, go to thewhisselway.com. You can ask questions on there to be answered on a future show. Join our Facebook group where we share all kinds of technology and tools and stuff that we're using in our business. Subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube channel, our referral network, and find out about our upcoming Media Mayor Mastermind events. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
See you guys.
Wait. Before you leave, I want to share some more tips and tricks that we're using in our business to take it to that next level. Just click right here. And don't forget to subscribe. Click right here.